Greetings and good day online. Um, Today I am Mr. Mashawula. Today we're going to be talking about the river profile and the river course. So, as we have spoken before, this is the river course. The river course has river features. So, we have three stages in the river profile or river course. So we have the upper course, we have the middle course, and the lower course. These be our upper course. So what we are going to do today, we are mainly speaking about the lower course of the river. So upper course and the middle course of the river will be the recap of the lessons that we have made before. So today we are going to talk about the lower course of the river, but we will take you through it by starting there by the upper course. So river profile has three stages. So it's upper course, middle course, and the lower course. So this is the upper course. This is the middle course. And this will be what we are mainly focusing on today, the lower course of the river. The lower course of the river. As we have spoken before, we all know that at the upper course of the river, this is where the river starts. This is where we find our river source at the top. This is where we find our river source. And at the upper course of the river, there are river features featured at the upper course, which mainly are the waterfalls, the rapids, and the canyons, right? This is where we find the waterfalls, rapids, and canyons. Yes. On the middle course, now we this is where we find your tributaries and the meanders, the sharp curve of the river, the sharp bending curve of the river, the meanders. So this was the recap of the lesson. So today we are mainly focusing on the lower course of the river, on the lower course of the river, lower course of the river. So today's lesson is about the lower course of the river and the features found at the lower course of the river. The features that are found at the lower course of the river are mainly the levees of the river, mainly Oxbow Lake. It's an Oxbow Lake. Remember that now, an Oxbow Lake from a meander, and the meander is at the middle course of the river. But when the Oxbow Lake is formed, it is now formed at the lower course of the river. We also have levees and deltas, but today we are mainly focusing on the levees and deltas. What are levees? Levees are embankments that are parallel to the river course. These are the sides of the river. Those are levees. The sides of the river, we call them the levees, the embankments that run parallel to the river course. Then we have the delta. A delta is a V fan-shaped feature that is found at the lower course of the river. The delta connects the river to the larger body of waters. Mainly, we can name them as the oceans, the seas, and the dams. Right? These are found at the lower course of the river. So now we are going to talk about the formation of deltas. How deltas are formed. So deltas are formed by the sediments that are deposited by the river. Right? Remember that the river starts from the source. And from the upper course now we have a steep slope, and at the middle course it is a bit steeper just before you get into the lower course. So now the river starts eroding vertically, so it carries um, sediments the velocity is at a high speed at this steep slope and this steep slope here. By the moment it gets to the lower course, now the river has lost its um, velocity due to the gradient that is found at the lower course. The gradient at the lower course is a gentle slope, right? So now these sediments are distributed unevenly to the ocean by the delta, right? So now these sediments, when they are distributed um, unequal, they now form a V shape, right? So some of the sediments, they are at the higher speed reaching the mouth connecting to the ocean or the sea. Some sediments are more slower, so now they start to form a fan shaped, a V shaped at the deltas. The delta connects the river, right? The delta is found at the mouth of the river. It connects the river and the large body of waters such as the sea, dams, and reservoirs, right? So now we're gonna get to the formation of levees. So how levees are formed? How the levees formed. So the levees, there are two different types of levees. There are natural levees and man-made levees, artificial levees. So how levees are formed? When sediments are deposited, right, during flooding, they form mainly during flooding. So when the sediments are deposited, they are deposited, so they carry a load, right? So some of this load is at a high speed, some of this load is at a lower speed. So some of this big load, it is distributed to the sides of the bends, natural, as this there's this fast moving water, so and this that carries sediments, and there's this slower moving sediments that carries load. So when this fast passes through the slow one, it now distributes evenly to the sides of the beds. So that's how natural levees are formed, right? So artificial levees can be, we also have artificial levees which can be constructed by man-made. They are man-made. They can be built through concrete and other materials of building. Um, Now, what are the advantages of having the levees? The levees, they protect us from flooding, right? From the nearby land, right? So they protect us during flooding, they protect us from flooding, right? Remember that now the advantages of a lower course of the river is that the gradient, it is um, gentle. So a gentle gradient allows us here. So the lower course of the river, we know we find that the gradient at the lower course of the river, it is now gentle. So this is where we experience a laminar flow, because now the land, it is not steep, the land is gentle, the land is flat, which the advantages of the lower course are the lower course would allow us to practice farming, right? And another advantage would be that we can be closer near to the water source, right? As we know that the delta connects um, the river to the large sea body of the water, so we can be closer to the water source, right, for irrigation purposes, right? Yes. Um, the lower cost, we can also build houses on the lower cost of the river at the lower cost, right? Because it is expensive to build houses um, at the steeper at the steep, uh, steep slope, right, of which we find at the, middle course and the upper course, right? The house to build there it is more expensive, right? Because you find that the house is in the mountains. So here, this is where it is at a lower cost to build, right? That is also another advantage of the lower cost of the river, right? Yes, guys. Remember that now there are different flows at the stages of rivers. So the flow at the lower cost is a laminar flow. So the flow that we find at the upper course of the river is a turbulent flow because now it is at a high velocity, right? There is more vertical erosion, right? So now, before we get to the lower source, now we have sediments. We have all long collected these things. These eroded material, right? They are now sediments. So now, as we're about to get to the lower course of the river, now it starts to be a laminar flow. Like the course of the river is gentle at the lower uh, at the lower course of the river, right? Yes.